Hey, welcome back everyone, Toys is here, and back yet again with yet another Loyal Subjects Best Action TMNT video. And today we're going to be taking a look at some of their brand new offerings, singles, and including their brand new XL exclamation point figure. First and foremost, we have the 80s version of Bebop. This one kind of harkens back, a little bit of Playmates toys, very, very loosely cartoon, we'll just say. Kind of sort of resembles kind of a whole bunch of things thrown in. And I think that's where the Loyal Subjects kind of fit in with the whole Ninja Turtle crowd. Like Rocksteady here, it's primarily based off of some of the art samples that are kind of thrown around for, let's say, Hot Topic t-shirts and whatnot. So their versions of the Ninja Turtle figures is largely just kind of like everything in the kitchen sink thrown in, like Casey Jones here, which now kind of utilizes the CGI Ninja Turtles show and now the Playmates toy, you know what I mean? Along with Krang. Now this is the Bubble Walker version of Krang. This one you could largely say is kind of the cartoon, kind of video game, kind of like the original Game Boy Fall of the Foot Clan version of Krang in many ways, but then you have this new giant XL version of their best action figures. Now they're starting it off with Ninja Turtles, of course. Not too shabby of artwork. Big ol' XL exclamation point sticker right there. And you get to see Krang in his android body. And I have to say, it's one of the coolest things that they've done thus far within the best action line. So we're going to take a look at all of these, and we're going to have some fun doing it as well. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. This is a look at some of the brand new offerings from the TMNT Best Action series by the Loyal Subjects. So we're going to jump right into it with Bebop and Rocksteady. Now, previously, we have taken a look at their video game incarnations way back when he's fighting a boss and he starts to glow like a yellowy orange, right? And I didn't mind those figures, but instead of just beating a dead horse over and over again, when they say best action, well, we'll get into the articulation, but I gotta say, from looking at their prior releases to now where they've kind of come thus far, not too shabby of accessories, I have to say. Everything's painted nicely, but again, very reminiscent of Playmates toys. You even get the human version of Bebop, complete with the purple hair and the blue glasses, and you get some extra hands / human hands, right? Bebop himself, again, very nicely painted overall. That is a definite step up to some of the first instances, first waves of the best action Loyal Subjects figures, primarily the Ninja Turtle line. We'll just say everything is painted nicely, and again, this is kind of harkening back to Playmates toys, primarily just the action figure, a little bit of the cartoon. He is missing his leg brace that, let's say, the Super 7 one, the Playmates toys one has, and then he's got his sneakers. He doesn't have that decal sort of stitching that the Playmates Toys version has on the back of his vest. But I have to say, primarily for the Loyal Subjects, where they kind of fall in, if you're not in the price tags for Super 7 and NECA Toys, well, then it's really not a bad price point, but you're getting entirely different toys. Now, Rocksteady, I just kind of went ahead and just had the hands encompassing the accessories because it just kind of fits better. It's easy to swap out. You do get an extra human head version, just like the other Bebop and Rocksteady arcade versions, right? It looks okay. Again, very much harkening back to everything kind of Playmates did. Now, this is a very different look for Rocksteady. How I kind of described it was all the different art pieces that they kind of use over the years for t-shirts and various merchandise tie-ins. On the cartoon, Rocksteady never looked like this. So this is kind of a different take. And again, that's where I think Loyal Subjects really falls in. The articulation is what it is at this point. I'm not going to spend the entire video going, well, this doesn't look good. You either don't mind it or you are already buying a different brand, right? That's just really the simplicity of it. You don't have to think it looks good in the articulation. It comes with lots of swap out pieces and parts and everything else. And at the price point, again, it's really not too shabby for what you are getting, as long as it's painted nicely, as long as they don't break. The human versions, take it or leave it. They're just okay. But I have to say, the Bebop is very nice. Rocksteady is a little bit different, but as a whole together, not too bad at all. And then you have Krang in the Bubble Walker, and then a newish version of Casey Jones, and I say that really loosely. Again, this is kind of a mishmash between the CGI series and then paying homage to the old Playmates toy, which on this version, you see all the weapons and the golf bag are in that green. Again, that's what the Playmates toy version had way back when. You still get Eastman on the big old hockey stick. You get a putter, right, which is nice. But I would say go really easy with all the accessories. They feel a little bit brittle, especially on, let's say, the driver right there. And then the handle of the bag, the part that kind of slips around the chest of Casey Jones, goes over his head. That, if you kind of hit it the wrong way or you stretch it too much, I would say that could snap. It's just very brittle in its feel. And then you have this head portrait, which is not Playmates, not cartoon, nothing of the sort, except for the teen version of the CGI's Casey Jones. So go figure if they threw that in there, and then you get a couple extra hands, fisted hands as well. Now, when you look at the actual figure, which we've already done, it's the same exact articulation, right? Through and through. Again, take it or leave it. It says best action. It's definitely not the best articulation. We can all agree on that. It has tons of articulation points, but as you can see, I'm just going to point out the paint right here on the knees, even though it's supposed to kind of go, okay, it's like the ripped part of his pants. That doesn't look good at all. And this time around, yes, he has the green shoes, much like the Playmates version did. So it's fine for what it is, but it sure as heck doesn't look great when you articulate him. He doesn't really get into all the poses you would think he could do with all those extra articulation points. You know what I mean? And they do boast that each of these figures have 31 points of articulation. Give or take. I'm going to be honest with you. But I'm going to tell you right now, this Krang is very cool, but there is no way in heck it has 31 points of articulation like the back of the box has. It does have little tentacle articulation right here, which is totally cool. He's a little bit dirty, like little bits of paint and such that I was able to kind of pick off, but kind of dirty. On the underside of the figure, you can see it's got a little ring with a little brain effect. Now you just simply pull the arms off and you're going to put him in the Bubble Walker. He does come with that little three-pronged chair that he's been having in video games and cartoons for years and years. And then you get an extra pair of tentacles. And if you look closely right here, they're all kind of different. The two go for the Bubble Walker, and then the other two primarily just go for Krang. You cannot inter-swap between the tentacles for Bubble or Krang, and I don't know why they did that. Now, for the actual Bubble Walker itself, it's not really the cartoon. It's kind of its own thing, even though it bears a heavy resemblance to the cartoon, you know what I mean? The silver is nice. It's painted nice. It's got little bits of red, a little bit of a light bluish silver. So it's definitely painted well. The dome is very nice. It stays up. You have the little portholes right there where you're going to insert the tentacles. Everything looks nice. I will say it definitely reminds me of video game renditions of Krang. Game Boy, NES, SNES, and like I said, there's not even close to 31 points of articulation. I counted, give or take, maybe 9, right? Simply insert the tentacles as such. Then you just take the untentacled Krang body right there, get him all situated, get the legs all situated, close the bubble dome. It's one of the best figures that the Loyal Subjects has done. He is a little bit loose in the bubble, but that's the least of our problems, especially when he's just kind of standing there. He looks great. The paint looks great, with the exception of not being able to swap the tentacles. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I really wish you could have done that. But even little Standy looks great. So this one, I think after going through all the characters thus far, presents the least amount of awkward problems here and there, and they've really designed a really cool Krang figure. Now, to go from the singles to now the XL figures, and this is their first XL, which is Krang's android body. And this guy comes with a ton of accessories, which is very cool, kind of sort of harkening to the cartoon, not gonna lie. It's very reminiscent of NECA toys in many ways. He does come with these blasters, which were cartoonish. You could also say video game-ish at the same time. See, it's kind of a mishmash. And again, that's where the loyal subjects kind of exist. It really is a little bit of every variation of the Ninja Turtles thrown in. I do like the sword accessory. That's cool. And you get a pair of open hands as well. There's no paint on them. It's just a solid red, which does work for Krang's android body. And you do get this Krang as well, which it is a very cool Krang. You see, he kind of has that bottom. You'll see you fit him inside the android body. Nice sculpt. I have zero problems with this Krang. It's very cool. You get the same type of articulation. The tentacles just move. There's not a whole lot going on, but it's enough for Krang. So you just simply pull the arms off, and then, yeah, you'll be ready to insert him finally into the android body. And speaking of which, this is a very cool, updated 2023 version, like a toy through and through of Krang's android body. The one caveat to that is, you can see inside, the tentacles are there to stay. You could probably pry them out if you wanted to. Not going to do that. But that's one little thing that I'm like, I really wish they didn't have those tentacles just there. He doesn't have any peg holes on the bottom of his feet. There is a lot of solid plastic here, but there's also a lot of sculpted detail and then a lot of paint, especially in the silver, and little accents here and there. He even has that little handle on the back, exhaust ports, all kinds of little trim and details here and there. So for what paint is there, it's definitely painted nice. It's a very detailed face, sculpted out face, which again reminds me of Playmates. Go really easy with the antenna fork at the top of his head. I think if you hit that wrong, it could potentially break off. You get minimal articulation in the head. It just sort of spins. The arms will go out. They do have a bit of a butterfly to it. He does have bicep swivel. And again, the articulation, while he does have double jointed elbows, yeah, I mean, it's not going to look great. But I will tell you this, in kind of comparing them, as you'll soon see, NECA Toys in their Android Krang is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's an art piece. This is a toy. This is the toy you can have a lot of fun with, you can give to kids, and they can have fun with Ninja Turtles. Again, it's almost as if you would expect Playmates Toys to be making something like that. He does have this rubber diaper sort of thing right there, which kind of aids in moving the legs. Not that they'll go up really that high. He's got thigh swivel, and he's got double jointed knees, which go to about there. The only problem, though, with the feet is that they're not rockers. They sort of just go up and down, and they'll spin, and he can be kind of awkward to pose out, which kind of presents a problem, but then Krang's android body always just kind of stands there, hobbles around. But with best action and all that, you would expect a little bit more articulation out of it. You know what I mean? Now, inside, it simply just opens up. You see the little peg. You get the Krang body minus the tentacles, because the tentacles that are inside are there to stay. You close them up. And yeah, bingo bango, you've got yourself a pretty cool-looking Krang's android body in the toy sense. This is one you can move around and really have some fun with. And he does look good with all the different attachments. So again, I think this is a good Android Krang body at the price point it's at. It does have a lot of interswappable parts and pieces, which really adds to the fun. So this, again, I'll say, if you're more in terms of, yeah, I don't want to spend the money like what Super 7 and NECA Toys is doing, which I totally understand. But if you want a toy which you can pose around and have some fun with, yeah, this is definitely a cool figure to grab. Now, in terms of the scalature, I have to kind of give it to him on this. Scale actually works for me. Krang might be a little bit bigger than he should be, but he's in the Bubble Walker and he looks fine. But when you have him in the android body, I would say that that works pretty well. Bebop and Rocksteady are a little bit taller than Shredder. Yeah, I would say that's right on the money. And again, to say the Android Body Krang and the Krang Bubble Walker, after all the figures they've done thus far for TMNT, this is where I wanted to see them go. So they definitely nailed it. But the one caveat is that you can't swap the Krangs. This Krang will go in there, but he doesn't stay because he's a little bit too tiny to fit on the pedestal peg. And then this Krang is too big to fit in the Bubble Walker. Yeah, you almost had it, right? Now, there has been a ton of Bebops over the years, right? From the original Playmates, then you have the NECA Toys cartoon version, then you have the Super 7 Playmates reactivation version, and now you have the Best Action version, right? And so many more in between. On the note of Krang's Bubble Walker, the exact same thing. Playmates Toys, Super 7, Best Action Loyal Subjects, and the NECA Toys. Each one serving a function, each one being its own thing until, like I said, Best Action Loyal Subjects kind of come in and they kind of pick and choose and draw what you want. So it's kind of a mishmash of everything that's come before. Krang's Android Body really is no exception. The NECA Toys one, like I said, is a gorgeous art piece. It looks like it walked right out of the cartoon show. That line is tremendous. It is top-notch. It's unbeatable at this point, right? The Best Action one is great as a toy, and then you have the truest sense of a toy in the form of the original Playmates version. And much like Casey Jones, lots of versions over the years, all kind of harkening back to the original cartoon show, which NECA does in spades, to the Playmates version now that both the Loyal Subjects and Super 7 have both emulated, but each one, again, is very different and the same in many ways. And then, if you were wondering, this Krang's Android Body does fit with a ton of Ninja Turtle offerings, from Super 7 to NECA Toys to the original Playmates to then, yes, even the Best Action, which they've had a lot of problems with the scale of the Turtles compared to all the villains and added characters. But I think the Playmates matches it the best. Likewise with Krang's Bubble Walker. I think that if you were missing a Krang in your collection, yeah, he would definitely work. But in terms of this Krang, I think that for me and how I see it best is that he is a video game version. And I don't mind that at all. So he will exist until NECA Toys makes their version on the My Turtles in Time shelf. So that will wrap it up for my look at some of the brand new, the Loyal Subjects TMNT Best Action offerings. Casey Jones, Bebop and Rocksteady, Krang's Bubble Walker, and the XL Krang's Android. And again, each one, I would say, doesn't really fit the description. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but when they say Best Action, it's really not the best articulation. Let's just be honest with you. There's parts and pieces that move. Does it move great? No, not really. Is the paint good? Yes, I will give them that all day. Are the accessories good? Yes. Is the idea of Ninja Turtles there? Most definitely. But it is a hodgepodge of ideas. Some work tremendously. Others, yeah. Well, you've heard my thoughts. And now I'm curious to know yours. Comment below. Let me know. Let's talk everything TMNT Best Action. And again, thank you to my friends over the Loyal Subjects for sending these out for the purposes of this video. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember, now, this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I'd like to see them carry it a little bit more, but be able to stand on their own. Stay away from what other companies are doing, packaging, designs, the theme. Do your own thing and create your own Ninja Turtles, and you'll definitely be better off for it. And when they do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.